When the Foreign Minister of Libya met with Israel last week, I don't think she anticipated having to flee her own country after being fired by her government and put under investigation, all for just talking to Israel. Hamas is threatening to defeat Israel in an all-out war in the region. Residents of Judea and Samaria are being equipped with driving training to defend against attacks on the roads. And the country of Papua New Guinea is opening an embassy in Jerusalem this week. I'm Josiah, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Welcome back to the show, guys. First off, you know what to do. Make sure and hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate that. That helps us get out there on YouTube, out there on the internet, for more people to see what's actually happening in Israel. Also, hit that like button if you enjoy today's show and the shows we put out on a daily basis here at the Israel Guys. Also, you can follow us on our social media pages. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, now known as X, I suppose. So we're on X. I'm not exactly sure how you're supposed to say that, but you can follow us there as well. We're putting out content almost every single day on all of those platforms. Also, if you want more firsthand, get the news as soon as it comes out, these shows, as soon as they come out, you can join our breaking news WhatsApp group. The link to join that is in the description below. Make sure and check that out. All right, guys, got a lot of things to talk about today. The first off is a very interesting situation that happened this week, kind of in the Israel's foreign ministry position. The foreign minister of the country of Libya is actually fleeing her country right now because she had the audacity to talk to Israel. Sunday night, the foreign minister of Libya had been suspended from her position as the foreign minister and has reportedly left her own country early this morning on a private jet. She seems to have fled to the country of Turkey. Now, this is all just for talking to Israel. It seems that she was, you could say, caught, as if it's a crime to talk to Israel. She was meeting with Israel. Yesterday, Israel's foreign minister, Eli Cohen, announced that he had met with his Libyan counterpart, who represents the Libyan government of national unity, last week in Rome, Italy. The two ministers discussed historical ties between the nations, possible partnerships between the countries, and Israeli aid and humanitarian, agricultural, and water management issues. Eli Cohen said regarding this historic meeting, now this is all coming from him, his announcement with the meeting, saying that they are talking about future partnerships potentially, all of this. But he said regarding his historic meeting with, he called it historic, the foreign minister of Libya. He said, quote, "The historic meeting with the Libyan foreign minister is the first step to ties between the countries. Libya's size and strategic location grant relations with it great importance and potential for the state of Israel. I spoke with the foreign minister about great potential for both nations, from ties between them and the importance of upholding the heritage of Libyan Judaism, including the renovation of synagogues and Jewish cemeteries in the country." That was all from Eli Cohen talking about his meeting with the Libyan foreign minister. Now, just a few hours later, protests erupted in the streets of Libya, where protesters burned Israeli flags. Not long after this, the Libyan government suspended their foreign minister and referred her for investigation. The Libyan foreign ministry put out a statement saying that the meeting between the two ministers was accidental and unofficial and not planned in advance. They also stressed that the meeting did not include any discussions, agreements, or consultations, and that the Libyan government renews its complete and absolute rejection of normalization with Israel. So, yes, it seems that in the country of Libya, talking to Israel, especially talking about the possibility of cooperation and partnerships, is indeed a crime. Now, this is a prime example of how Israel tries to make peace with and partnerships with her surrounding neighbors, but is most of the time met with a firm, absolutely not response. I do want to commend the boldness of the Libyan foreign minister for actually having the courage to meet with Israel and talk about the possibility of normalization, even though her government was not at all behind her and not at all on the same page in regards to peace with Israel. Unfortunately, Israel is also facing enemies within the state of Israel itself, particularly an enemy that is being backed by Iran. In the latest wave of terror attacks in Israel, the Israeli government has been linking these attacks to the terror organization Hamas and Iran. Now, many of these attacks have actually been carried out by Hamas members while receiving backing and funding from the Iranian regime. Last week, the deputy head of the political bureau of Hamas, Saleh al-Aruri, probably didn't say that right, it's okay, I don't really care, gave an interview about Israel and said, quote, "This extremist government will suffer a resounding defeat, which will lead to their withdrawal from the entire West Bank. The leaders of the occupation government, with their extremist policies, will cause an all-out war in the region," end quote. He's saying that Israel's government is going to cause this war, but right there he actually said that we will defeat Israel from the entire land of Israel and the West Bank. One of the leaders of Hamas is declaring they are going to defeat Israel. This is after 2 deadly shooting attacks that happened this past week in Judea and Samaria, leaving 3 Israeli Jews, murdered. In Netanyahu's cabinet meeting yesterday, Sunday morning, he gave a warning against these terrorist entities. Netanyahu said, quote, "Hamas and other Iranian proxies understand very well that we will fight with all means against their attempts to promote terrorism against us in the West Bank, in Gaza, and anywhere else. Whoever tries to harm us, whoever finances, whoever organizes, whoever sends terror against Israel will pay the full price." He also told his cabinet, quote, "I would also like to appeal to the citizens of Israel. We are facing waves of terrorism, both internal and external. These are not simple times. These are challenging times. We need to unite our forces against terrorism, against crime in the Arab sector, and against the external and internal threats that are being organized to a large extent by Iran via its proxies. If we stand together, we will prevail," end quote. That was from Prime Minister Netanyahu. So calling for a time of unity and bringing the nation together to defend themselves against Israel's enemies internally and externally. In this time when the Iranian-backed terror organizations are threatening Israel with regional war, Hamas is threatening Israel with regional war, Israel needs to be united themselves as a country, and they also need the support of allies like the United States of America. Have you ever wondered what life is like for children living in Israel's biblical heartland? While most kids in America are playing hide and seek with their friends, thousands of children in Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank, are suffering every day from the trauma of Islamic terror. After David Rubin and his young son were wounded in a terror attack, David realized that his son was only one of thousands of children in Israel who were suffering physically and psychologically from terror attacks and desperately needed a way to heal. And so he founded the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund to provide victimized children with the life-saving therapies they urgently need to heal from their trauma. Traumatized children are different from adults. They can't sit in a room with a therapist and just talk it out. Shiloh Israel Children's Fund provides unique programs to help kids work through their traumas in ways that work for them. Through art therapy, drama therapy, animal therapy, and more, each child responds to trauma differently. So they tailor these life-changing therapies to each and every child's individual needs. The success that Israel Shiloh Children's Fund has seen is incredible and inspiring. They've helped thousands of Israeli kids to contend with trauma, to find healing, eventually moving forward to living a happy, healthy, productive life. In honor of Israel's 75th birthday, we are determined to save 75 children by Rosh Hashanah, the new Jewish New Year here in Israel. Together, let's celebrate this special time of the year by saving 75 children from their trauma to give them happy and healthy futures that they deserve. Click the link in the description to see what it takes to save the life of a terror-stricken child in Israel's biblical heartland. I wanted to show you this new training program launched in Judea and Samaria that is really needed, I would say, but it's actually very sad that Jews need to go through training like this. Unfortunately, over the last few months and even the weeks, attacks against Jews in Judea and Samaria have only been increasing. While there is an occasional shooting attack, most of these attacks are actually stone throwings, burning tire roadblocks, things like that against vehicles on the road. While these attacks generally are less severe than many of the other terror attacks, like shooting attacks, they are still a very serious threat to drivers on the road and can lead to very serious injury and even death. This organization, Shurat Hadin, has launched a training program for residents of Judea and Samaria to instruct people how to behave in an attack on the road, how to drive. During the course, drivers endure simulations like stone throwings, using tennis balls, shooting attacks using blanks, and burning of tires, paint on windshields, and much, much more. The president of the organization, Nitzana Darshan Litzner, said, quote, "People are driving their car unsure if they will get back home safe. We decided in Shurat Hadin, my organization, to take action and provide these courses to teach people how to behave during these terror attacks. This time, we decided to fight terror before it occurs." Now, actually, this is very incredible. I thought an incredible way for Israel, the citizens of Israel, to prepare themselves to go through potentially these attacks on the roads, which is a very real possibility here in Judea and Samaria. There have already been 10 courses conducted throughout Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank. Now, this training is a great way to potentially save lives through trained responses to attacks while on the road. But the residents of this area shouldn't have to go through training like this. Mothers going to drop their children off at school shouldn't have to wonder if they will make it back home with their family alive. Families driving to Jerusalem to visit the Western Wall shouldn't have to worry about a brick or a rock flying through their car window or windshield. These attacks against Jews in Judea and Samaria have to stop. All right, guys, to leave you on a positive note before we end out the show here, I just saw this on the news today. Papua New Guinea will open an embassy in the eternal capital of Israel, Jerusalem, this next week when the Prime Minister is actually coming to visit. A spokesperson for the Prime Minister's office of Papua New Guinea confirmed yesterday, when asked about it, that they will indeed be opening an embassy in Jerusalem. Now, this is historic, not only because they're opening an embassy in Israel, but this is the first embassy being opened by Papua New Guinea in the land of Israel at all. They're not moving their embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem as the United States did back in 2017. Opening the embassy here in Israel is a very historic move, and we thank Papua New Guinea for recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's the eternal capital of Israel, proclaimed by King David, established as Israel's eternal capital. Thank you, Papua New Guinea, for opening your embassy and making that bold and courageous move. Shouldn't have to be a courageous move, but unfortunately in our world today of anti-Israel sentiment and anti-Semitism, opening your embassy in Jerusalem is considered controversial. Yeah, that's just the way our world works today. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments below. We love hearing your thoughts there and interacting with you there. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, get that conversation going down below. Check out our social media pages, and as always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.